sometimes I don't vlog when the interesting stuff happens usually, so I'm trying to get a little bit better about that. I always manage to get myself into jobs that are flexible in some capacity. And I think that's just part of like my brain. Even if they're not flexible, I make them flexible, and sometimes that means I get fired. So, you know, we're not manifesting that for the future, but I am saying I've got myself into a legitimately flexible job again. For one of the reasons I talk a lot about sexuality on my channel. I'm very pro sexuality, pro talking about sexual health and that kind of thing. Sexuality is a human need. And for me and for a lot of, I think, AFAB people, you don't know when it's gonna strike. So if you have a time when the time is right and it needs to happen and it's the morning and you could go to work at 12:30 or you could go to work at 3 o'clock or anywhere in between, it is, I'm not even joking, I found it like so beneficial. Practice sacred sexuality and orgasm meditation, and not orgasmic meditation, orgasm meditation. Different thing. Maybe I'll do a whole video on it at some point, because a lot of people don't even know what sex is, especially with female sexuality. Like, they don't know the difference between getting off and having in like mind expanding, God meeting, life altering, like download, connecting, like refreshing, nourishing experience. And it's not that complex. A lot of it is deepening into your body, tuning to yourself, listening to its signals, when it's telling you the green lights, and connecting to God consciousness in a way that is really free and open and unfettered, and non-pressured, and just get a lot of like wisdom and downloads in those moments, which I'm gonna keep for myself. But so much better. I've been having like crazy anxiety for the last few days. I don't like putting that energy on like my friends and lovers or family. So I've been given the green light to get 40 hours a week for the time, 40 hours a week, yeah, for the time being, until a new person starts. So I'm trying to get that dollar, because I am behind on a couple of things and about to move where my income will be like close. So yeah, eating some oatmeal. I used to have a lot more panic attacks after sex, but for me this was now more of just like extreme overwhelm of emotion, and it can make you feel crazy because I couldn't leave the parking lot for 2 hours. I couldn't, I was hungry but I couldn't eat, and yeah, oh yeah, you can tell I've been crying, I guess. What I'm trying to say is, though, I'm hoping that actually feeling the emotions is another step, because, you know, no one wants to have their life run by this kind of overwhelming emotions. But I think step one for me is realizing that the situation actually demanded it, where in the past I would just completely implode and be like, why am I so weird that I have these strong emotions around having intensely intimate sex with someone that I love and then have them drop off. But it's not a who was right and who was wrong situation. Doesn't matter that happened. You know your body. You know your reality. One of you doesn't have to be black or white, right and wrong. That would be upsetting. That makes sense. You know, so I think step one was like realizing that it was situational and that it wasn't just my brain being broken. And then the second thing that I'm feeling more solid about is that I had a lot of mix of just like conflicting beauty and tears, and it was extremely overwhelming, but that it was all emotions and then none of it was panic. which I think panic comes from like a I can't trust my own brain. I don't want to feel. We're not at war with this little ball over here, this prickly demon boy that's a little cloud and he likes to be spiky. We're not at war with him. We're just not going to become him. We're just gonna go, look at that big boy being emo, and we're not going to become him. I think that as my time in relationship moves forward, I don't want to become him. I don't want him to eat up my life and my energy. Well, my friend helped me make the decision that I do need to pump the brakes on some deep kinky intimacy I was having with someone because of my dom drop afterwards, which basically just means that you aren't able to calm down with the person and regulate before you move on with your life, and so that you get confused about what was real and what wasn't real within like a BDSM scene. And it's just important to realize what was real, what wasn't. Like, yes, that was real connection, yes, that was real love, yes, that was real, this, but then coming out of the I'm stepping out of this position of like control and hyper awareness of like care for you and of like a role of dominance over you. I'm stepping out of that and into this like myself. And because I have not been able to successfully do aftercare with people, not for them but for me, I need to take a pause on that kind of play until I find the way to do that. Yeah, so I'm trying to sit down and organize like what my priorities are and what's going on. I really want to invest in friendships in 2026 and invest in my hobbies. And so I'm in this dance team. I really want to get to know more of the people that are in the team. A lot of them were in my team in the summer. I really want to go to more events with them, hang out with them, and practice my dancing, going to more bachata classes and socials. I want to learn more about the Middle East. I was looking into today about how like the Enneagram, because I noticed that it's like the Enneagram from that's very popular in like a lot of Protestant churches. It looks like sacred geometry or like a mystic symbol, and I looked into it, and it's apparently something from like Sufism, sacred geometry. And I also need to be learning geometry. I also need to be improving my math for the GRE. And if you know anything about me, if it has to do with the mystic or the divine, much more likely to be able to engage with it. That's the hyperfixation part of my brain. It's like, math, why do we care about math? Oh, it's part of a mystical ancient knowledge. There's of the esoteric, and we're actually learning an ancient law of nature and how to control it. Like, okay, I can get with that. Math for the GRE. Dance stuff, doing the math stuff, learning about the Middle East. For the Seminary of Southwestern counseling program, which is happening, like the deadline's sort of coming up. And then I'm also trying to organize a game night with my friends and organize a rituals, intimacy events with them. I do want to go and look at witch markets in the area because I miss being with my witches. Because if I don't get my ducks in a row, sometimes I just go off sideways or get really into just the Sufi sacred geometry and miss out on the other things that I'm working on. But I care about getting better. Also, Shakti Moves should be reaching out to me soon, participating in their classes. I'm going to go ahead and reach out to her right now because I want to explore being a part of that community. Again, speaking of like the mystic and working with the divine feminine in dance, I've missed working with them so much. I've worked with them just like this much a few years back, and dude, like the energy that they have and the devotion to the divine feminine is exactly what I want to be doing with dance. We might be doing pole dancing things with a friend. So those are my focuses for 2026. What I would also like to fall in love and have a baby, or get going, the wheels turning on having a baby. Not probably gonna get the baby in 2026 or the conception, But I would love to get the balls rolling and falling in love with somebody that I could have a baby with. So I might be going on some dates. Girls too, because, you know, we can use different ways to get babies. To get babies, that sounds creepy. To, you know, have babies. But yeah, that's kind of the rituals that we're hosting this year with Shannon and the like coven group. With her goddess gathering and my coven group in Austin, we have the whole year scheduled out, and I'm hosting half of them and she's hosting half of them, and I'm also trying to go to hers when I can. So, and we're doing the therapist somatic gatherings, but I'm gonna lower my expectations for how much I'm gonna prep for those because of all the other stuff going on.